Within seconds of shifting into that feeling state, all my cold symptoms were completely gone, and that's about as instant as you can get. My nose was dry, my sinuses were clear, and the tickling urge to sneeze disappeared. I had been able to bring on the state merely by thinking about it, due to a lot of practice doing so. However, as soon as I let my attention wander from the feeling of confidence, all the cold symptoms immediately came back. Fortunately, in learning how to share this technique with others, I have discovered that the easiest way for most people to enter and sustain this state is by assuming a confident posture. The assumption of the posture of confidence reminds the body of the feeling of confidence, and as long as one maintains the posture, the feeling remains, with all of its healing benefits. Mental energy. I'm not going to discuss thoughts or telepathy in this section. I'm going to talk about attention. When you put attention on something, a vitally important event occurs. That event is a wave. It's a wave of energy. And I'm not going to discuss what kind of energy because I don't know, and no one I know knows, although theories abound. For the sake of convenience, I call it mental energy. But so far it can't be directly measured or sensed, and there's no way to scientifically prove it exists. However, and that's a big however, a wave happens when you put your attention on something, and we know that because of the effects. When you put your attention on something, that something changes, often in ways that can be measured scientifically. Using my wave theory, attention directs a wave of mental energy toward whatever the attention is on, and that influences the wave energy of the object of the attention. The nature of the effect depends on the degree of attention, the duration of the attention, and the information carried by the wave of mental energy. Attention itself is moved by one of the most mysterious forces of the universe, the will. The main characteristic of the will is that it starts energy moving. It creates waves. You can have an intention, but it takes will to carry it out. You can have a desire, but it takes will to achieve it. You can have a wish, but it takes will to fulfill it. You can make a decision, but it takes will to implement it. And even though one can find ways to rationalize it or to justify it, no one knows where it comes from. So forget about that part. Assume that the power of will exists. What then? Then comes applying it. There are two vital aspects to effective willing. Here now is one of the most useful secrets you will ever encounter in your whole life. The first aspect of willing is intending something to happen. This is not just having an intention or holding an intent. Those are weak-willed variations that may or may not have an effect over a period of time, depending a lot on the strength of other forces. No, I'm talking about actively intending, with as much confident expectation as you can muster. The second aspect is just as important. You apply your will to forces that already exist or that you are going to use. Many people give up on willpower because they try to use it directly to make something change, and that's not how willpower works best. It works best by generating waves that influence waves of existing or potential energy. Instead of willing a cancerous tumor to instantly disappear, it's more effective to will your body to use all its resources, which could include its own immune system, medicine you are taking, or even surgery you're going to have, to make it disappear. Your will, added to your body's natural inclination to heal itself, makes a very powerful combination. Here are some experiments you can perform yourself to test the power of will. You can use words, imagination, and or touch to direct your will, but remember that they are not the source of power here. Your results will be determined by the intensity of your intent. Number 1, opening a jar. Find an unopened jar of something, one that's very hard to open. After your first unsuccessful try, mentally tell the cap to open easily, or tell your hand to open it easily, and or imagine seeing and feeling it happen. At the same time, will it to happen. The strength of the seal and the strength of your hand are factors to take into account, and it might possibly take you more than one try, but the difference from the first try will be very noticeable. Number 2, lifting an object. Pick up any fairly heavy object that you can lift with one hand, such as a rock or a full bottle of wine or a statuette. Then will it to be lighter, and lift it again. The difference will be very noticeable. Number 3, making your finger grow. Just so you don't freak out, I want you to know that the effect you're about to produce is only temporary. The point here is to demonstrate the power of will to influence your own body. For some reason, a few rare people don't seem to be able to produce the effect. It could be that their doubts are interfering with the process. Anyway, you start by finding the more or less horizontal crease on both wrists, that is just below your palm. You bring both wrists together at the crease, and flatten your hands together like you were going to pray. Pay attention to your middle fingers. For most people, they will be the same height. In that case, leave one hand up and put the other one down. If one of your middle fingers is longer than the other, leave the shorter one up and put the longer one down. Now, put all of your attention on the middle finger of the hand that is up, and will it to grow. Tell it to grow. Imagine it growing, and most of all, want it to grow. Keep this up intensely for 1 minute. Then bring up your other hand, put your wrists together at the crease, and flatten your hands against each other. Surprise! Will directs your attention, and attention influences events. The following techniques for directing and strengthening attention have proven very effective in instant healing. The eye relaxer technique. When my eyes get stressed, I do something to relax them, and my vision comes back to normal, which for me is 20/20. With this technique, I can read 6-point type at a distance of 6 inches without glasses, contacts, or surgery, although my eyes are over 60 years old. Sometimes, for a quick relaxer, I squeeze my eyes shut tightly 3 to 5 times, and that generates relaxing waves of energy that improve vision. But that's not the technique I'm talking about. For a longer-lasting, beneficial effect, you have to look at things differently. A whole lot of people develop the habit of trying to grab things with their eyes. They treat the verb to look as if it meant to lock. The effort of trying to hold on to what they see and even pull it toward them creates a great amount of tension in the eye muscles, which often distorts their vision. Actually, everything that you see is coming to you. You don't have to do a thing other than receive it. However, if you've developed the habit of eye grabbing, or if your eyes get stressed or strained for any other reason, you may want to do something a little more active to relax your eyes and obtain better vision. The process, however, isn't really very active. Just put your attention on the back of your head and keep it there while you're looking at something. Breathing deeply and slowly while you do that is helpful, and so is imagining that your eyes are sitting at the back of long tunnels leading to the back of your head, or putting your hand on the back of your head to help you maintain the focus. The main effect, however, comes from sustaining the back of the head focus. At first, it may take a while to get good improvement in your vision, but with practice, you'll be able to see better very quickly, instantly, so to speak. The Pico Pico technique. Pico Pico is a Hawaiian word meaning center to center, and I learned the technique from my uncle. Basically, it consists of shifting your attention from one place to another in conjunction with deeper breathing. The breathing assists in maintaining the attention and seems to amplify the mental energy. There are numerous variations to this technique and many applications. I will give you 3 that are most useful for instant healing. Any of them can be used while sitting, standing, walking, or lying down. First, begin any of the techniques with the Pico Pico tune-up. Inhale with your attention on the top of your head. Exhale with your attention on your navel. Intend to relax or be energized as you wish. A lot of people try to visualize energy moving from the top of the head to the navel while doing this, but not only is that unnecessary, it can even interfere with the process. Pico Pico works best when you give up trying to make something happen and just let the attention do the work. Only move your attention from your head to your navel. Don't try to move the energy. This technique is useful for mild anxiety, low levels of tension, when you need a quick energy boost, and for practicing the technique. Now, technique number 1, the Pico Pico de-stressor. Inhale with your attention as far above your head as you can. I often use the stars as a focus, but the clouds or sky are also good. Exhale with your attention as far below your feet as you can. The center of the earth works well, and so does the ground beneath your feet. Intend wellness. In Mongolia, I taught this technique to a local shaman who had a sudden onset of headache and nausea symptoms. In her belief system, this might have been a psychic attack from an enemy, but I suggested that she try this technique before doing anything else. If she was just experiencing heavy stress, then the technique would help. If the technique didn't change the way she was feeling, she could still do her own thing. The technique worked in a few minutes, so she didn't have to engage in any defensive rituals that time. I have used this technique myself in many severely stressful situations, and so have others, with instant to rapid healing effects. Technique number 2, the Pico Pico harmonizer. Inhale with your attention on your navel. Exhale with your attention on any part of your body that needs tension release or healing. Because this helps to increase circulation instantly, it is very good for stiff or sore muscles, but it really shines as an instant healing technique for numbness of the limbs due to a cramped position while sleeping or sitting. If I wake up in the morning with a numb arm or hand, all I have to do is less than 30 seconds of this Pico Pico and the numbness is gone, without any pain or excessive tingling at all. Technique number 3, the Pico Pico Incorporator. Inhale with all your attention on something outside of yourself that has qualities or associations that you desire. Exhale with your attention on a part of your body where you want those qualities or associations to manifest, and imagine the external object of attention in miniature at that location. Intend the appropriate effect. In London, I was walking in a park with some students during a break in a seminar, and one of them told me he had a badly strained back. He showed me that he was unable to bend forward more than 10 degrees without a sharp pain. There was a breeze blowing, and I pointed out the leaves of an oak tree that were fluttering in the wind. I taught him this technique and told him to use the moving leaves for the focus of his attention. He did the technique during the 15-minute walk back to the classroom, and by the time we arrived, he was able to bend over almost 90 degrees without pain. He had inhaled with his attention on the moving leaves, and when he exhaled, he had imagined those leaves moving in his back. On another occasion, I woke up with a painfully stiff neck after moving furniture the day before. While still in bed, I played one of my favorite CDs and did this technique, inhaling with my attention on the source of the music and exhaling with my attention on my neck, while imagining that the music was playing in my body. After half an hour, the painful stiffness was gone. Objects of attention suitable for many healing needs are anything that moves, anything that melts or dissolves, anything that is peaceful or quiet, anything energetic, and anything that is strong. The mind blower technique. In the past, I have called this repatterning, or the repetition technique, but neither of those does it justice. So I changed the name to reflect its awesome power. What else would you call a technique that enables you to heal burns, cuts, bruises, and even broken bones in just a few minutes? This will probably produce more skepticism than anything else I've presented, but the proof is in the practice. Several times I've said that the body has a natural inclination to heal itself. Now I'm going to rephrase that a bit. Based on empirical research, I'm convinced that the body has a natural inclination to heal itself instantly. Unfortunately, in the healing field, it is taken for granted that the body needs time to heal. I disagree. I think what takes time is reducing stress and redirecting energy waves so that the body can do its healing without restraint. Experience indicates that the sooner you can reduce stress and redirect energy, the more quickly the body will heal, and the mind blower technique can help people to do that with amazing speed. When the body is injured, it immediately mobilizes all of its available resources to repair itself. However, the body gets its information about current reality from 3 sources: immediate sensory data from the environment, its own memories of sensory data, and the mind's imagination regarding past, present, and future sensory data. It then attempts to correlate the information from these 3 sources in order to respond appropriately to a given situation. Ideally, the memory data contains valuable information on how the body has coped with such situations before, and the mind's imagination can reinforce past successes, reinforce present coping strategies, and guide future progress. That's how it could work, and even does on rare occasions with rare individuals. Fortunately, the body usually does its part of the healing job quite well. Unfortunately, the mind seldom does. Instead of helping the body, the minds of most people hinder it. I feel safe in saying most people. Otherwise, the state of health and healing in the world would be very different. Most often, what happens is that while the body is busy coping, the mind is recreating the injury in imagination, reacting with anger, and anticipating fearful results. All of these add tremendous additional stress to the situation and inhibit the healing process. As if that weren't bad enough, the body also has to deal with memories of past mental reactions to an injury. One solution would be to quiet the mind and put it to work at helping the body rather than interfering with it. That's what the mind blower technique does. I know it doesn't sound very mind-blowing, and the name is only valid because the effects are astounding in terms of current expectations. As more people become familiar with it and use it, I'll have to change the name again. There are 2 sides to this technique. First, I'll tell you how the physical side works. When you receive an injury, what you do with your body in this technique is to, insofar as possible, relax your muscles and do a quasi-repetition of the action that produced the injury. A quasi-repetition is an action that almost duplicates the original action. The difference is that you complete the action by stopping short of or bypassing the original traumatic contact. It's rather like the fireman I told you about earlier, the one who healed his burns by imagining that the burning spray of hot oil never touched him. For example, if you burned your finger by touching something hot, you would immediately repeat the action of moving your finger toward the source of the heat,